Yo, check this out. I actually got another pandemic game. I know I gave the base game a hard time during my review, but this one plays nothing like the original game. And it's also a standalone game, so you don't need the original Pandemic to play it. So what's it about? Well, you and your team of medical and supply specialists are delivering packages all around the world. Major disasters are happening nonstop, and regions across the globe are in desperate need of emergency medical supplies, such as medical equipment, water, and food. So it's your team's job to deliver them. In other words, you're basically FedEx or UPS working overtime. Sounds simple enough. And to be fair, it is. Just get from point A to point B and drop off the goods, right? Yeah, that's pretty much it. Except you have a timer. And the goods for the packages haven't been created yet either. You have to create all the goods while flying to the area. And all this has to be done while under an intense time pressure. So, get ready to channel your inner speed force and become the Flash. Because this is an insane game, and some high-speed rules overview are coming straight at you. Setup for this game is pretty easy, just like the original game. You have a deck of location cards. Draw one card and this is where your plane first starts. Then you draw cards depending on which difficulty you want to play and place the drawn cards face up at their respective locations. Then you draw a few more cards and keep them face down in a separate deck. This will be the remaining locations that experience the crisis. The rest of the cards you return back to the box. Next, you place a set of number of purple time tokens in the area, depending on the difficulty you're playing at. I like to call these tokens extra lives. Finally, everyone is given a set of colored dice, a matching pawn, and assigned a role. Each role has a unique ability that transforms how they play the game and also determines where their start location is. Now you're ready to play. Objectives are clear. You win the game by delivering all the packages to all the locations before running out of time, even the ones that haven't been revealed yet. Each location will have specific types of supplies they need, such as food or water, indicated by the card. The card also shows how much of each supply they need as well. You lose the game by obviously running out of time. You also lose the game if the waste level ever reaches the skull, so try not to let that happen. During your turn, you roll your dice and have a few actions you can take. If you roll the die and it'll land on an airplane symbol, then you can move the airplane one location space towards a specific direction. This can be done from any room. You can also bank dices to your current room, if they match the current symbols and if you have enough of them to fulfill a tier. More on that later. You can also activate your current room if the banked dices reached a specific tier. You can also attempt to clear out waste by banking unique symbols to the recycling room. Of course, you also have to be there at the same time too. You can also deliver the package to a location if you have enough supplies in the cargo room by spending a rolled airplane die. And of course, you can also move between rooms by spending one die per space. And if you don't like any of your available rolled symbols, you can reroll up to twice per turn. Now, about banking your dices. You can only bank if you fulfill the lowest tier completely. For example, the first tier of the power room requires 3 power symbols. That means you must commit 3 rolled power symbols at once. If you only rolled 1 or 2 symbols, then you cannot bank into this room. And you cannot skip the first tier either. If you decide to end your turn with your dice's bank, you don't get them back until they're released by activating the room. So yes, it is possible to mismanage your dices and end up with no dices for a few turns. Activating your room is pretty straightforward. If you have enough banked dices and you're in the room you want to activate, then you activate the highest tier achieved and create the listed amount of resources. Do note that some first tier actually have 0 resources created, so keep that in mind when strategizing and planning. The cargo room can only hold 10 resources as well, so any excess resources must replace a pre-existing resource or be discarded. Also, there are only 4 of each resources, so you can't create something like 8 food resources. While that's all fine and dandy, activating a room also creates waste. You take all the banked dices and roll them. For every symbol encapsulated in a circle rolled, increase the waste counter by 1. And you know what happens if you reach the skull symbol. It's an instant loss, so try to avoid it. The only room that doesn't generate waste are the recycling room and the cargo room. Mainly because the cargo room you're kicking a bunch of packages out of an airplane like Harrison Ford. And the recycling room, well, it recycles stuff. Now, for the recycling room, it's like the inverse of all the other rooms. Instead of banking matching symbols, you bank unique symbols and lower the waste counter by the highest tier achieved when activated. Again, it doesn't generate any waste because of the Captain Planet certification it has. Keep in mind, you don't have to do anything during your turn, and you can end your turn pretty much anytime you want. This is important if your teammates are in a better position to do something vital instead of you, like clearing out waste. And remember, you're up against time. Speaking of time, this timer measures 2 minutes. When the timer runs out, pause the current player's turn, discard a purple time token, or an extra life depending on what you like to call it, draw a new location, and place it on the board. Then flip the timer and resume the game. During this timeout phase, discussions about strategies or tactics is not allowed. And one more thing about time tokens. If you make a successful delivery to a location, then give yourself a pat on the back. You also earned an extra time token. Good for you. That's pretty much it for the base game. But if you decide to play with the crisis modifiers represented with this deck, then the game has its big boy pants on. The difference is when the timer runs out, you draw a crisis modifier card, and that remains in play until the next timer runs out. And these crisis modifiers throws a huge wrench in everyone's plans, such as requiring more airplane symbols to fly the airplane around. Now that you're caught up with the rules, let's get to the opinions and thoughts. The world ain't gonna save itself, you know. Okay, let's get this out of the way. These dices are amazing. Seriously, just take a look at them. They have a smooth, marbled finish and they're rounded. That means they spin like a Beyblade, eating up precious time and creating that awesome tension and drama. The board is well drawn and beautiful. For those wanting a bit of logic, you'll have to turn it off, because there's no current modern plane that would look like this. But it does look like a beast of an aeronautical vehicle. The artwork and card quality is top notch, and my previous complaint about muted colors are gone. There's more vibrance in all the artwork, and all the symbols are super clear, which is vital for a game relying on speed. The cubes are cubes, nothing special here, but the pawns are these groovy marbled colors, and that's awesome. The only complaints I have with the quality is the airplane. It's not awesome compared to everything else. Like, everything else is superb, then you have this very plain airplane that's a bit flimsy. It's not the end of the world because it's only a small figure. It's just, I kinda wish there was a groovy marble color to the airplane. Like a Scooby-Doo mystery airplane. That would be pretty slick. And the timer. It's only a sand timer and not electronic. It impacts the gameplay a little bit because sometimes players forget about the timer, and then they gain some extra time before they notice it and then they flip it. Having an electronic timer would definitely solve that problem. But you could always use your phone or something. The amount of space this game takes up is actually surprisingly large. Even though the board is only about mid-size compared to other board games, the reason why is because of how long this board is and the chaotic nature of how people roll their dices. Because of the real-time element this game has, people may forego the dice cup and the box and roll straight onto the table. With a time crunch, they may not control their dice rolls very well, and as a result, they have dice flying all over the place like some kind of spaghetti monster. So while the game itself isn't very large, and it packs into a small box really well, and is mid-size, the nature of this game requires, a little bit more space than the average game. So do dedicate a full table when playing this game, unless of course your gaming group is very, very controlled with their dice rolls. This is definitely a very unique game. It plays nothing like the base game of Pandemic. It plays like a completely different game and shares only the namesake. It's extremely simple to learn and quick to pick up. If you want a game that's quick in game time, super stressful in a time crunch way, and want it to be cooperative, then yeah, you'll have a ton of fun with this one. If you want a game that's unique, this is a pretty strong contender too. And if you're a theme gamer, this one is perfect for you because, oh boy, it lives up to the literal definition of Pandemic. The game gets insanely chaotic and fun when people are trying to go ahead and take their turns as fast as possible. Then they smash the dice onto the table, and then they try to go ahead and rush placing all the pieces properly. There's something visceral about trying to beat the timer and anticipating your turn in this game. Especially since the downtime between turns is extremely quick, and there's a thrill of having an incomplete plan because it's only been like 7 seconds since your last turn. But, and this is a huge one, but there's a huge catch. If you break everything down, this game is very straightforward and there isn't much strategy required. You need water? Gotta get water. Need power? Gotta get power. Okay, cool. Gotta fly to Mordor? One doesn't simply fly into Mordor. But you gotta do all of this under a time limit. The entire fun of this game is reliant on this time crunch. It's what makes this game unique. Unfortunately, this mechanic isn't well received for some players. A lot of players, actually. This mechanic is highly stressful in a chaotic time crunch way. It's not stressful anticipation, like card draws or storytelling, which is super fun for the majority of people. It's stressful rushing, with chaos. And a lot of people generally don't like that. Think of it like taking a test under a timer. You get that feel, except the stakes isn't determining which college you get into, and which friend is going to be yelling at you for the rest of the day. When playing this game, I got extreme mixed responses to it. Some people really love it, others really hate it. It's about a 50-50 split for me. It's safe to say if you or your gaming group don't like rush stress, then don't pick this game up. If you're looking for an in-depth strategic game, don't pick this one up either. And this game does rely on luck at times. Sometimes you need those 3 matching symbols and no one can roll those symbols for a long time. And people get frustrated because of the time limit. The pricing for this game is about $30 as far as I can tell. At that price range, it's alright. It's not a bad buy if you know your gaming group will enjoy it, or if you predict they'll enjoy the chaotic nature of this game. Or if you've been with them long enough that you're willing to take a risk together. It's definitely worth the price in terms of the quality of pieces you're going to get. But the key thing is it fun? Is it worth taking a risk at $30? If you didn't say yes to the previous list, I'd say no, because it's like flipping a coin whether or not you or your gaming group will enjoy it. If you're just building up your gaming collection as well, I'd say hold off until next time. But if you can find this one on sale for around $20 or less, oh man, take a risk on this game. Trust me. To me, that's the magic sweet spot for taking a risk to see if your gaming group likes it. And there's solid replay if, and again, that's a pretty big if your group likes it. The Crisis cards adds new flavors to the game, and there's enough roles compared to the base game where you can definitely aim for different types of various playstyles and different team compositions. I enjoy this game, but I do feel a bit put off by the time limit at times, and it does take a while getting used to it. Think of it as an acquired taste. However, even the people who dislike this game can appreciate its unique mechanics. It's a wild time when playing, and you definitely feel like Amazon upped their delivery game to same-day delivery or something. And it does feel like you're the unfortunate victim of this new delivery policy. But you're running on adrenaline now. Nothing is going to stop you, and you channeled your inner speed force. Because now it's speed. Speed. You are speed. If you enjoyed this review, leave a like, and buy from the affiliate links down below. It really helps out this channel. Subscribing would be awesome too if you want to see more reviews like this. Comment below your favorite speedster just for the heck of it. It can be anyone like Sonic or Lightning McQueen or The Flash. The Flash, best speedster by the way. And stay optimistic. You know, if I really think about it, I'm still not sure if Speedwagon counts as a speedster.